So let me welcome Godfrey Akotobuafo. Good morning.
Good morning.
And Richard Delaskai. Good morning.
Good morning, my brother. How's it going?
I'm very well. Hope you guys are doing good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Looking forward to the show.
Yes, for watchers of local elections, Kumewu is where the action will be for them. But for us, we're also very interested in the IMF and what it means. I still have unanswered questions for you.
I have a lot of answers for you. In fact, one of my line of answers is in the front page of the Finder.
Oh, and there's also a story that is creating quite a lot of storm.
Yeah,
it would seem that the GMPC chief, in terms of the chairman, and then the Minister for Energy are in a big brawl over Anadako and related matters. Petro SC wants some interest in Ghana.
Yeah.
And it appears that the chairman of the GMPC is interested in offloading.
Yeah. That story was on the front page of the Herald yesterday.
Yep.
It's on the front page of the Chronicle, and it's the same issue.
Yeah.
Napo
and the president
and Freddie Blay are on the war path.
Charlie,
and the president has been brought to the center of the issue.
Yes, to deal with the matter.
He has to deal. Meanwhile, Napo is 55 years old today.
Yeah, so
it's part of the coterie of May Bonds.
Yeah,
okay.
It's part of our association.
Yes,
it's part of our group.
Yes,
Sineboku Pepe.
Yes. Are you also part?
Yes.
He's also part.
Yes.
So
we are special people.
Yeah, Napo is 55.
Yes.
And there's a graphic. There's a graphic pull out.
Yeah.
From friends of Napo. Oh yeah.
When the system made them, we started friends of
Hold on. So there's a Napo story on the front page. There's a friends of Napo in the graphic. Then there's also an article by Rodney Nkrumah Boateng.
No shock.
It said 55 years of Napo. Napo is the only thing left is Napo ice cream. We have Napo scandal here, Napo story there, Napo birthday. We just have Napo t-shirt. Napo
but Napo actually has a trending t-shirt video.
Nanapoku. It's a big man. So today is Napo day.
Happy birthday to you.
You know what I like about Napo is that you see he doesn't run away from fights. He will fight. So when like his minister, you are not paying his people. Say, you have to pay. So Napo, you're a big man. Happy birthday, Charlie. You're a big man. Today is your day.
Just enjoy
the day. Yeah, so we'll start with the Chronicle.
The Chronicle says offloading GMPC's 50% stake in deep water tunnel. Petro SA deal is absurd and scandalous. Minister Napo whines in a strongly worded letter to Jubilee House. Also, Samia Oku is the best public sector chief executive of the year. And BOG maintains policy rate at 29.5%. More coming up.
Front page of the Daily Graphic. Today's by-election. Kumewu precursor to 2024 polls is the big question the Daily Graphic is asking. 2 babies die over hospital power cut. 3 others in critical condition. And then, I've been telling you about this for some time.
Which one?
Galamsey surges in election years.
Yeah.
Former FC executive director, that's the Forestry Commission. Now they are telling us
that's very important.
That Galamsey surges in election years. Sky.
Let me take you to the Finder. E-Levy rakes in 861.47 million Ghana cedis in 11 months. Inflows drop in 2023 due to rate review to 1%. Also, BOG gives banks 3 years to rebuild capital buffers. And then we face deeper issues beyond mere IMF dictated fiscal discipline. This is according to Mr. Avle. And Kumewu by-election, police promises to ensure law and order.
The front page of the Daily Guide is all Kumewu and politics. The other story there is the Parliament resumes June 6. Another by-election looms. Piak Lord's government use of oil cash, comes the photo of Nasir Alpha Mohammed, vice chairman of Piak.
Well, this is the first time I'm seeing a whole newspaper banner headline being dedicated to the celebration of minister's birthday or a person's birthday. The Inquisitor says this morning, special edition, celebrating unique and versatile Napo
Some of us,
on his birthday.
the birthday, we didn't come.
You didn't celebrate it.
It's the birthday edition.
Yeah.
Inquisitor.
And the Inquisitor is celebrating
This
Napo.
is just minister.
Yehovah,
The editor of the Inquisitor.
The president.
The editor of the Inquisitor, we must find you.
And also epistles of a police officer growing dislike for IGP within Ghana Police Service.
Well, the front page of the Daybreak has Napo sitting in a corner somewhere. And the photo don't be easy. He pose, Charlie. And the shoes, the under part of the shoe is red, Charlie. So celebrating unique. Anyway, IMF queries government over free senior high school target. That's the big story that they have.
Let me take you to the new crusading guide. The big story says EC dismisses notice of poll on Kumeu by-election. Says it is fake. Also, Paul Chumberima extols Controller and Accountant General for sanitizing public sector financial management system. Some other stories on the front page this morning, including Kokobot denying sacking workers.
Yes, that story is on the front page of the Anchor. It's official. Former MMDCs set to picket at Jubilee House insist their action is not meant to embarrass government. An ex-Agric minister confesses. I'll tell you what it's about.
The Economy Times says Citi now world's best performer. Also, IMF Ghana bailout program, the light and darkness. And IMF Ghana intends to agree debt rework MOU with official creditors before November.
Bernard, over to you.
Have we done a graphic business? Okay, this CNR website, Citi Newsroom, is saying Kumeu by-election comes up today. NDC says disregard by Omia's pedestrian and mischievous lies. NDC will pull a surprise in Kumeu by-election according to Pareado. And then MPP says we're confident Kumeu will reward us immensely with votes. The other story is that new taxes and tariff hikes are crucial for Ghana's bailout deal. This is the IMF resident rep speaking to us on the point of view yesterday. Also, collapsed building kills 5-year-old girl, joined downpour at Ada. And Bufferstock CEO to contest Pusiga parliamentary seat. That's also in the news. Major Online is talking about the president and the finance minister. I'll be shocked if Akufo-Addo sacks Ofori-Atta. He can't do it. This is Mutala Mohammed. Subin MP says it's now up to Akufo-Addo to decide Ofori-Atta's fate after IMF deal. So quite a number of people. Remember the main reason the president said he wasn't going to sack him was that
To get this done.
to get the IMF deal done. So some people are reminding him. So Subin MP Eugene Entry
Entry, okay.
is saying it's up to the president to decide the fate of the finance minister. Ken Asigbe says we should treat facilitators of Galamsey as terrorists or of illegal mining as terrorists. And then we're told cognitive impairments, stillbirths, congenital disorders, and dead mothers among effects of illegal mining. This is a pathologist. This is serious. And then there's also a story here that says the cost of mining, illegal mining outweighs the benefits. This is Daryl Busu. So lots of stories on Galamsey. Let me just take you outside for one quick story on Bloomberg, which I thought was interesting. Nigeria is banking on Dangote's refinery to cut a $26 billion bill. That's a big Africa story for me because Africa's largest refinery is set to be operationalized in Nigeria following the work of Dangote. So let's get into the details, gentlemen.
Well, let me just start off this morning with this story.
The Chronicle story.
In fact, yesterday the Herald ran the story, as you said.
And it's continuing.
Yeah, that's right. But I'll read the first paragraph of the story, which is in the center spread of the Chronicle of today. And then I'll read parts of a letter that has been issued by the Minister of Energy regarding this particular matter. Now, the story, which is by Max Odofori, says the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation, with the blessing of its board chairman, Freddie Blay, is seeking to offload some of Ghana's oil interests to the South African national company, which is Petro SA, despite the rejection by the Minister for Energy, Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh, who has described the whole process as scandalous and a complete absurdity. Now, if you go to the letter, which was issued on the 16th of May 2023 by the Minister, it says, Dear Mr. Blay, pre-emption of dual acquisition of an Adako interest. Now, the ministry is in receipt of a copy of a letter to Petroleum Oil and Gas Corporation of South Africa, Petro SA, dated 23rd April 2023, on the above subject, in which you indicate that you are agreeable to Petro SA's proposal to share the interest in an equal split in the DWT interest held by Joel. You go on to further indicate that, quote and unquote, this split is prudent to both parties' interests, unquote. And he goes on to say, it is very obvious to me that in considering both parties' interests, you have totally ignored the wider interests of the government and people of Ghana and the critical considerations that led you to the acquisition. I do not believe that you have carefully assessed the implications of the losses that this path will lead to, not least the immediate loss of revenues as well as the impact on ongoing discussions to which the Joel interests are.
So if you summarize this, basically the minister thinks the GMPC board chair's actions will not inure to Ghana's benefit.
He is even alleging that they, GMPC may have preempted the interest from the South Africans, and that does not align with the interests of government. They had met with the South Africans and I told them that they are not interested in doing the transaction in this shape and form, and they have called on the president to intervene.
So it's the same story that the Herald wrote yesterday. Napo catches blame scandalous release of GMPC's key assets to South Africans with a slightly different angle. We'll come back to this. Let's
another state-owned agency that has issues is GNPC.
Actually, it's the same state agency.
Oh, okay. But this one is on the Salt Pond project.
Another issue, yes.
On the Salt Pond project on page 26.
Actually, same. Okay, this is deep water tunnel.
Yeah, deep water tunnel.
And this one is what?
Yeah, this one has to do with procurement breaches related to the awards of consultancy contracts for the Salt Pond decommissioning project.
This is
in response to the allegations, GMPC released a 10-point statement on Friday clarifying the procurement process for the project. The corporation emphasized that a news report by one Thibault Lachon of the Africa Intelligence Media Entity, an affiliate of Indigo Publications run by Philippe Vasset, had misrepresented the facts surrounding the contract awards. Furthermore, it explained that in response to the decision to decommission the Salt Pond field, the Ghanaian government appointed GMPC to manage the project on January 12, 2022, and signed the Salt Pond field decommissioning contract with Hansen Co Oil and Gas Limited, the chosen decommissioning contractor. So you can go and check out.
Now, take me to graphic page 16, where we are told that Galamsey surges in election years.
Yes. I've been telling you this for some time.
And then you can also do on the same page, 2 babies die over power cut in hospital.
Yes.
The ECG has responded.
Upon Sasu is a former director of the Forestry Commission, and he has said that the lack of political will on the part of politicians to clamp down on illegal mining during election years has resulted in the devastation caused by its activities. According to him, the country witnessed an increase in illegal mining during the election years of 2012, 2016, and 2020 due to the involvement of politicians in Galamsey. This is told the Daily Graphic in an interview that during the past 3 election years, politicians either relaxed the clampdown on illegal mining or simply looked away to profit from the proceeds of the illegal trade to support their political campaigns. On the same page, 2 babies have died while 3 others are in critical condition at the St. Anne's Hospital in Damongo, in the Savannah region, following the disconnection of power supply to the facility by the Northern Electrical Distribution Company. The newborn babies are said to have lost their lives due to the hospital's inability to test for compatible blood to transfuse them. Very, very sad.
Meanwhile, NEDCO is saying that they are trying to justify their decision to cut power to St. Anne's Hospital in Damongo over 4.8 million CD debt. Mr. Kotoka, Maxwell Kotoka, who is the NEDCO communications manager, on Eyewitness News said the hospital disregarded the notice given to facilities under NEDCO's jurisdiction and showed no commitment when the disconnection exercise was announced. So essentially saying that the hospital has itself to blame for this unfortunate incident.
Okay, so let me take you to the Kumeu constituency, because the EC has been saying that a notice of poll that has been in circulation.
Yeah, we read that yesterday. It's been online as well, and the EC saying that's not the right notice of poll.
Yeah, but the news really is that today, voters in that constituency are going to the polls to elect a replacement for their departed member of parliament, the Honorable Philip Basua. The NDC is in that race, the MPP is in that race. There are 2 other candidates who are both independent.
So there are 2 articles I want to urge you to read today. So Richard Sky has an article on by-elections, which is on citinewsroom.com.
What does he say?
And then I have an article on the IMF, also on citinewsroom.com.
You're very busy.
So today, if you want to know what we think, so Sky is basically saying that best practice, you don't need a by-election between now and 2024. If you want to save money, if you want to have a fair democratic process, so on economy, on legality, it's basically a luxury we can't afford, which is actually breeding corruption. And he cites many constitutions to show that we can actually do away with it. So it's calling us to think about it. My article is on Citi Newsroom, breaking the 17 alternatives to IMF conditionalities for economic development in Ghana.
In fact, there's a story done by the Finder capitalizing on that speech you delivered somewhere this weekend. And it's on page 9. It says, we face deeper issues beyond mere IMF dictated fiscal discipline, according to Mr. Avle. The story says that the general manager of Citi FM and Citi TV, Bernard Avle, is convinced that the regularity with which Ghana and other countries in the global south seek assistance from the International Monetary Fund indicate deeper issues beyond mere fiscal discipline. According to him, quote unquote, there are ideological, cultural, philosophical, and historical factors at play that require comprehensive analysis. He pointed out that the IMF programs often short-term and focused on analytical tools and policy prescriptions are ill-suited for post-colonial economies, and they fail to address the fundamental structural challenges faced by these countries.
Let's move on.
Speaking at the 14th congregation
of the Accra Business School.
Well, you be big man.
Too much.
I love international.
So there's a lot happening with the IMF.
No, another one. IMF queries government over free SHS. Now, Godfrey, there's a couple of things. The 172-page document is a treasure trove of information.
Oh, plenty. Everybody should read it.
What the government itself said about what it's doing, the IMF views on some of the policies, some of the things we've said that it didn't listen.
What the government did.
If you go to the Daybreak, for example, their front page story says IMF, and it's true. If you go into if you look into the document,
So they lied to us.
So the IMF has described government's flagship free SHS as poorly targeted. The fund made this observation in its latest country report on Ghana, whose request for a 3 billion bailout was approved. According to the report, quote, the free SHS program, which covers the full cost of secondary education, has helped increase enrollment but is poorly targeted. The IMF also disclosed that Ghana spends close to 4% of its GDP on education, with good results in terms of enrollment but poor learning outcomes. Key identified areas by the IMF which need potential improvement in education spending include strengthening primary education, Kofi Asari, better teaching, teacher training, stronger performance-based funding practices. Checks reveal that free SHS program has enjoyed a budgetary allocation of more than 11.3 billion cedis since 2019. And then the story then talks about what the president said at the MPP rally organized ahead of Kumewu. But basically, the document says that free SHS is not well targeted.
We've been saying this in this country for many years.
Okay, but let's stay with matters dealing with the economy, because there's a story on page 2 of the Finder that says e-levy rakes in 861.47 million Ghana cedis in 11 months. Elvis Dako writing says the electronic transfer levy, e-levy, has generated 861.47 million Ghana cedis in 11 months of implementation. Now, e-levy is a levy on all electronic transfers of money apart from those excluded by law. Now, the levy is charged to the transferor at the time of the transfer. It was introduced to enhance domestic tax mobilization, expand the tax base, and provide an opportunity for everyone to contribute towards the national development. But we're told that because of the reduction of the rate recently, it took a marginal nose.
Well, the GRA is also working hard on page 2 of the daily guide. It says that the Ghana Revenue Authority has announced that it will be sending technical support officers and client support officers to private and commercial properties to assist property owners and ratepayers to register, add their properties, and pay their rates electronically on the new www.myassembly.gov.gh platform. This will centralize the collection of property tax rates with the GRA out of the hands of the metropolitan, municipal, and district assemblies, who had failed to effectively collect property rates to finance their activities. And then if you go to page 6, PIAC, which is the Public Interest and Accountability Committee, has praised the government for allocating considerable portion of petroleum earnings to the improvement of the country's road infrastructure in 2022. So you can get some updates there.
Let me take you to the graphic business. NCA breaks silence on status of Self-Line, but customers remain aggrieved. Remember, we raised this story a few weeks ago. Charles Benonyoka is reporting that the communication industry regulator has finally broken its long silence over the status of Self-Line, pledging its commitment to protecting the interests of all users of telecom services as well as stakeholders within the industry. Coming on the back of agitations expressed by aggrieved customers on the ailing internet service provider, the NCA noted with grave concern inquiries by the public regarding Self-Line's operations and service outage. Now, the NCA confirmed Self-Line's service outage, saying it's been aware of the challenge and has been engaging with the company to offer support to ensure that subscribers involved were protected. But customers have described the position of the NCA as a little too late. It's almost like it's long overdue. And the authority has, in the past several months, continued engagement with Surfline, following a formal communication by the company to shut down its radio access network due to some operational challenges, it said in a release. One day we should discuss the whole telecommunications space, its profitability, its viability, and some of the challenges operators face, which results in poor quality service that we all receive.
Let me link that to a story of basis of the anchor. GBC workers up in arms over Fair Wages Directive. That union is strong.
Yeah, yesterday there was a publication in one of the newspapers that said that the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission was not happy about some people receiving payments that they were not entitled to.
GBC said they'll be that.
So let's get into that.
Some serious things they are mentioning in that report. Yes, go on.
Yes. Now, this follows the nationwide payroll monitoring exercise launched by the Commission in April this year, and by that I mean the Controller and Accountant General. Now, it says that quote, staff of GBC who have received the unearned allowances amounting to 2,084,020 Ghana cedis per annum should be made to refund the allowances in the appropriate DOG suspense account. But speaking on the breakfast show on Monday, Chairman of GBC Divisional Union, Sam Natkevo, descended heavily on the chief executive of the commission, questioning how he came to the unilateral conclusion that staff are not entitled to the allowances. According to him, there was no engagement with the union on the exercise. He said workers of GBC are already suffering, and Engineer Arthur's directive only disrupts the hitherto harmonious work environment. We don't want to have GBC on fire again, he stressed. So by the end of this month, our allowances have to be intact.
Yeah, but you see, it would seem that if you look closely at what the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission people are saying, they're saying that people below the rank of, director, and these are in excess of 700 or so, they are getting some really lavish, packages here and there, including allowances for domestic staff. All kinds of allegations are being made.
All right.
So it raises some issues that we need to look at, especially given GBC's own performance as a public
corporation. Now, I read for you a story on flooding in Aflao.
Yeah.
It's been repeated here.
Yes.
And there's a warning that we should be alert ahead of the flooding season. That story is in a number of the news portals.
Yeah.
But I felt I wanted to go to Nigeria to give you an important story.
Before you do that, though, let me just mention quickly that Togbi Fiti, who is the Togbi Fiti, Amenya Fiti, who is the paramount chief of Aflao, is quoted in the Finder as condemning the assault that was allegedly meted out to immigration officers at Aflao border yesterday. And it's important. If you are interested in that story, please grab a copy of the Finder. Find that story on page 5 of the newspaper.
Bloomberg is reporting that Nigeria is banking on Dangote's oil refinery to cut a $26 billion bill. Now, the story says Nigeria is banking on the operations of a giant new refinery built by Africa's richest man, Aliko Dangote, to help it eliminate a $26 billion foreign exchange bill on the import of petroleum products and fertilizers. The 650,000 barrel per day facility, comprising a petrochemical and urea fertilizer plant, as well as a subsea pipeline, could start supplying its first products into the market as early as July. Dangote said at the commissioning ceremony in Lagos on Monday. Nigeria imports almost all its petroleum products. Africa, despite being Africa's top oil producer, because its refineries have been largely non-operational for decades. Now, the import bill for refined petroleum products, and this is in my article, for Ghana is $1 billion. The import bill for refined petroleum products alone in Nigeria is 11 billion. From 2014 to 2017, before rising to 23 billion last year, Governor Emefiele said. And Dangote is confident that the refinery, the biggest on the continent, will meet local fuel demand of about 450,000 barrels a day by end of the year. And that 40% of production will be exported once the plant is fully operational, without giving a timeline.
Well,
so, we'll benefit from it.
June 6th.
It's good news for the after, actually.
Yesterday, Asamoah Gyan, former Black Stars captain, also launched his Baby Jet African football tournament. He's expanded. This tournament started as like a 5-team tournament. He's now bringing 32 teams from across the continent to Ghana to play. So well done to Asamoah Gyan. June 6th, Cape Coast.
And then also congratulations.
This is the Citi Breakfast Show, the city's biggest conversation.